Ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome back to Boz Comics. Before I move forward with today's topic, I would just like to kindly remind anyone and everyone who enjoys these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. Uh, every little bit of engagement helps, especially on a tiny fledgling channel such as this one. So, as you might be able to tell from the title, I am looking to piss everyone off that I just asked to throw in with my with my channel. But hey, I like to live dangerously. So let's talk about art and storytelling in comic books. Um, there's been renewed fervor, I feel, uh, in comic book communities over the last couple of years. Uh, in regards to the discussion about what is more important in comic books, the art or the writing, and especially from the independent creators. uh there's been we keep hearing it again and again and again. Comics are a visual medium. Comics are a visual medium. Comics are a visual medium. Yes, but actually no. Like that's my hot take, right? um I think that people are really missing some of the nuance. Yes, obviously, art is arguably what truly makes a comic book. You know, um, if you had um a comic without any written text at all, um, then you would have just an art book. But if you had, the like if you had the script of a comic and you condensed, you might have to make some minor alterations, but you would have a cohesive narrative. So it really is the art that makes a comic into a comic book. But I think when we kind of almost dismiss or denigrate the writing by insisting, well, comics are a visual medium, I think we're really missing the point. Even in famous sequences in comic books which have minimal text involved, the reality is they're still working off a script. Or even if you have a creator, you see this a lot in webcomics, somebody kind of winging their story. They're drawing and writing it all at once. They don't have a script set up. Ill-advised though that often is, those people do exist. But even in those instances, while they may not be working off a script, they're working off a story in their head. They're building out from there. Um, so the story is always there. It's always underpinning everything. Um, I think this whole argument about how comics are a visual medium just stems from two things. One, of course, being that especially lately, in the last like 5 or 6 years, this is one of those common complaints about modern comics. Um, they're definitely overwritten more often than not. There's a lot of um, the common critique, especially of like Marvel lately. Um, as Marvel has a lot of characters sitting around and like eating food or talking about social issues or their preferred gender that they're attracted to, or what have you. Relationship drama. Um, it's either eating food or talking relationship drama, or eating food while discussing relationship drama. Seems to be the general consensus. And even when it's more heroic stuff, there's so much of characters just standing around and talking. And I think that is where a lot of the frustration comes from. And so people, make the argument like, it's like a reminder. They're like, comics are a visual medium. We don't just want this talking going on. So we'll put a pin in that. The other thing that we talk about is when we say comics are a visual medium, uh, we're also like when people say that, they're also talking about the fact that the quality of the writing, has just especially with Marvel, I feel, and some DC properties as well right now, the quality of the writing, the actual technical skill of the writing, seems to have gone down, and it's kind of trash, and it's just not it's not doing too good. I think also a lot of those people that complain comics are a visual medium, right, are those people that even when the stories are technically well written, they don't necessarily have the patience for things like a Jonathan Hickman story that gets really kind of heady and involved and twisty and warbly and goes into some weird places. They're like, why isn't there more punching going on? So, we keep hearing this thing, comics are a visual medium. Comics are a visual medium. Less focus on story, more focus on exciting visual components. Well, I would like to remind everybody of a little company called Image Comics, which originally started, near as I can recall. I don't want to misrepresent anyone, but as I recall, Image Comics started in the early 90s because, quite frankly, Marvel was not giving enough credit or control to the artists. They were giving their writers like all the accolades, all the credit. They were pushing their writers to the forefront, and a lot of the artists felt like they were getting the short end of the stick. And so they're like, hey, fuck this. We're going to jump ship and we are going to do our own thing. We can do a whole hell of a lot better. And, and so they kind of struck out on their own, and we got things like Spawn and Savage Dragon and Wildcats. Those are the three I most remember right off the top of my head. And the thing about those was that they were all those stories, all those characters, they're visually striking, really cool art, even Liefeld's art at the time, Rob Liefeld, while it was technically very poor, it was definitely memorable, so there was a lot of that going on. But when you look at the story, this is not very good. The story is Spawn right now. I'm going through. If you look on YouTube, there is a wonderful series that I might actually do a video on, kind of praising it further in the future. There's a series by Geekvolution called Spawn Year. And the guy in charge of Geekvolution, Captain Logan, he kind of sets up this meta-narrative that I'm not going to bother trying to explain here, as a framing device by which he reviews just about anything and everything Spawn related up until that point in time, which this would have been like 5 or 6 years ago that the series finished. So, he goes through the ins and outs of the narrative of Spawn, Todd McFarlane's baby, and it really breaks down what a terrible story it is. It's fascinating in the way that a car crash can be hard to look away from. But so those were all a bunch of people, all those Image guys, those were people that thought like, fuck the story, man. We're artists. We can make our own way. And they jumped in with no real writing experience because they thought any yokel could do it. And, well, most of those Image properties, nobody remembers now, No, they've got no real staying power. Nobody cares about them too much. And my argument is that even then, and now, the reality is, while we can say all we want that comics are a visual medium, nobody's picking up a comic month to month or twice a month, going, man, look at this cool art. Like, that's not the reason you keep buying books. I think even people who say that are probably not entirely being truthful, even if they don't realize it themselves. So again, I go back to my earlier point that, even if you are drawn to the art, there was a story informing where that art comes from, whether it's a sole creator or if it's a writer artist team, there's a story underpinning it all. So that art that you love so much, it needed a good story to get it in place to be this good, to be this compelling. If you pick up a book and it's got great art, but the story is a trash fire, you're not going to keep picking it up. Now, just in the same way that you might continue to buy a well-written comic with poor art, you might continue to invest in a comic that has poor story, but really compelling art to a point. But especially with the way the comics are priced nowadays, you're not going to keep throwing money down just to look at something pretty. That's just not how people work. It's not going to happen. I personally have never in my life purchased a comic book purely based on aesthetics, visual aesthetics, I should clarify. Um, I have, however, bought comics purely on the basis of the premise. I have consistently avoided comics that had really cool looking covers or what have you, where the premise didn't sound like anything that I'd be interested in. So I think that this whole like, new push, oh, comics are a visual medium, comics are a visual medium. I think it's just misplaced frustration because yes, comics are a visual medium, but the writing is still essential. And here's where the sacrilegious statements come in. I think the writing is infinitely more important than the art. There it is. That's the bombshell that I'm sure is going to piss a lot of people off, especially, as we see this kind of new age of independent crowd-funded projects. And I will admit, I have something of a personal bias going on as somebody who's written a couple of books and has been writing since I was 5, but only recently now in my early 30s has started trying to seriously learn to draw. It's not going very well. Most of my shit still looks like malformed stick figures. So please don't misunderstand. I have nothing but the utmost respect for competent artists, and I would love to be one myself someday so that then you can see my comics and talk about how much more important the art is than the story then. That was a bit snarky. I apologize. I have feelings about this topic. But in all seriousness, um, I think that generally speaking, just the story is just more important. The story informs everything about a comic book. Even if you aren't somebody who wants to generally dive deep and really consider the themes and the symbolism inherent in a written work, um, the reality is you're not going to keep spending like 3, 4, $5 once or twice a month for 32 pages of just like fucking, oh man, look at this dope art. Sooner or later you're going to decide, it's not really essential. So that's why writers keep getting pushed. Now, I think that artists deserve like full credit. I think that, the writer artist teams should be held up on the same level. That is something that is still not handled, I think, very well in the big two. Um, Especially at Marvel, it seems like creators in general are just not paid what they're worth. It's a huge problem. I think you can mitigate a lot of that problem if, stop publishing so many fucking books with that end. Like, fucking scale back some of your titles and reinvest that money into, hiring better talent or better motivating the talent you have. But what the fuck do I know? Anyway, this is going to be a mercifully short video. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, kind of spit my 2 cents. But hey, like I said at the beginning of the video, hey, comment, let me know. Is art a primary motivator for you to invest in comic books? How long would you continue to follow a book with great art, but an absolute trash fire of a story? Where's the line for you? Am I off base? Do you really care about art that much more than story? What is it that motivates you? What is it that you most value, in this hobby? Let me know. I'm interested in hearing. I want to hear what you have to say. So, thanks guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I will speak with you all again tomorrow.